All right, so I don't know what Russ is laughing at. That sounds diabolical. So here we are on the wrap up, the last day of the 2-week online version of the National Sustainability Teachers Academy. And thank you so much for participating and for joining us on this, pilot program essentially. We're going to start off by taking a look at the bike rack, and so that is Jordan and Andrew are going to lead that section.
I can take it, Andrew. So in the bike rack, we have just a couple of things. The first, and we'll talk a little bit about this too, is about the project stipends. So make sure to check out information about that so you're aware of how to move forward with your projects and reporting on those. We've also added, we've had some people asked about this, but we've added a resource document that has links to pretty much all that we've shared with you or that people have shared throughout the past 2 weeks, either through Canvas or during these virtual sessions. So there's some great information there, links to resources, videos, websites, all sorts of things. So I encourage you to check that out. And then Lori's just been adding some stuff down about a trip maybe to Oak Harbor or doing some work with them. And I think Molly has said yes already. So great.
And I actually said, oh my God, yeah.
I wasn't going to do it justice, so thanks, Molly, for stepping in. Andrew, maybe you can talk about what's at the bottom of the bike rack.
Yeah, so we've added a few questions on the bottom here, and it's just basic course feedback. So what specific changes would make the Canvas platform more user-friendly? This is obviously within our control. We can't necessarily change the, I don't know, maybe the coding behind it. But we would love to get that feedback just because, we're not sure how much longer we're going to be online. So we want to make this as engaging as possible and, able to make it efficient for you where you're not learning a new platform, but focusing on the content. And then the next course feedback question we would love for you guys to answer is, what sustainability content did we miss or should have we included to help you think about and understand sustainability better? This could be something you've focused on in the past, anything really. It's just, we want to make sure that we're understanding your needs as teachers in your community. The next one, of course, Rob and Molly adding questions, so I am trying to have like 20 at the end of it. How can we facilitate better networking and getting to know each other? In the past week, we've talked about maybe having like office hour meetups where we could just chat because from my understanding, one of the biggest parts of socializing in these professional developments is going to bars after the facilitation and just chatting. So how can we maybe virtually do this? And then what can be added, taken away from the project workbook to improve your understanding and skills in project development? That's the last one.
Thanks, Andrew. And your feedback can be anonymous on this document. Be mindful that we are people with feelings. And so if you tell us it is complete rubbish in a polite way, we are likely to be more receptive rather than if you tell us it was complete rubbish in a very condescending, mean way. But we really do value your feedback, particularly because this is new to us and it really helps us to we got a lot of good feedback from the last cohort that helped us to reframe the way that this iteration works. So thank you very much for feedback in advance. It's really helpful. Molly's going to lead us in a, oh no, it's not, this is me, sorry. So I wanted to talk to you about Green Team's project implementation stipends. I will send out a more detailed version of this to you in via email, and I will also post this in Canvas as well. We're still sort of working out the details because we're not sure how to best facilitate these kinds of projects, but for our typical National Teachers Academy, you get a stipend upon completion of the course, which of course you will this time. But we've also incentivized project development and completion with an additional stipend. And for individuals or pairs of teachers that came through, they just kind of worked through a project, implemented the project, and then submitted a report at the end of the year. And we've sort of wanted to break that down a little bit better for teachers who were part of Green Teams. And we've increased the stipend a little bit too, to recognize that there's more work when you're working on a district-wide or school-wide project with your with the team. So if you're a teacher who has attended the 2020 Online National Academy for Green Teams, you're eligible to receive $600 in stipends for the completion of a school or district-wide project that should be engaging students, teachers, and other community members. And what we've done is identify that we want to have this proceed in two parts. So the first part is project development. So it doesn't have to be done over the course of 2 semesters, but you could imagine it being done over the course of 2 semesters. So let's say fall semester, you and your Green Team work on developing out a project. And that can include things like a Zoom meeting with our team, a project, not project, plant presentation. Oh, for crying out loud, a project plan presentation. So once you come up with a plan, you can present that to us or present that to other stakeholders in your community. And
I thought maybe
also,
that was like a, I was just saying, I thought that maybe that was a play on the problem tree.
yeah,
Plant?
it's a new project development, project management tool we're going to introduce to y'all. And then we want to have a reflection on the process. And the reflection is really important for us because it helps us to identify how people experience the project development itself. You know, so what challenges did you encounter? What tools were successful? How did your attitudes towards sustainability, towards making a difference in your communities change and develop over time? So there's a $200 stipend for the completion of those 3 items, and that's something that you'll work out with Molly and me. And then part 2 is the project completion. So once you've done the planning part of it, you get $200, and then once you've completed the project, you'll get $400, and this is per teacher who participated in our Green Teams Academy. And the project completion really just needs a project completion report, the details of which I've put in the overview document that is linked in the bike rack. And so I will send that out to you guys via email, and I'll post that in Canvas. And once we have kind of the details of how we're going to coordinate that, I'll include that to you guys as well. The idea is that this should be done by May 15th, 2021, and barring, you know, some new catastrophic apocalyptic event, we hope that's enough time to complete a project with your Green Team that has an impact on your school and community. And so I'll take a couple seconds here to answer any quick questions that I can. You can either put those in the bike rack and we can give you a more detailed answer after the meeting, or you can put them in chat now. Or you can just shout them out if that's your preference. And Andrew, if you could monitor chat, for some reason it's not coming up on my screen.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Oh no, here it is. I got it.
I have a quick question about the projects. Since there were several Philly teachers working together on this, if they all went and did a project together across schools or even internally at a school, would separate project completion reports have to be submitted, or could they submit together as a team?
It would just be one as a team. So we're going to set it up. In previous iterations we've had to, because of the way we recorded projects, each individual had to submit an application and a report. In this iteration, we're going to make it so that it's just one process for the entire group. So yeah, so it'll just be one report. that's submitted by the group.
And Rob, just to clarify, even though it's one report, what's the stipend situation for the group or for individuals?
Oh, correct. Yeah. So each individual gets the stipend amount. So if you are participating in the project development, each person on that green team gets $200. And then for the project completion, each person on that green team gets $400.
Okay, thanks. I guess that's really kind of what I was asking. Thanks.
Yeah. So a total of $600 per participant.
So just to clarify, because with my team, I have members at more than one campus. I also have somebody who works for the Department of Education. And could we still just submit one project completion report for all of our team, even though there may be slightly different iterations of it with different team members?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And Stan, it sounds like that your situation is a little bit more complicated. So as we're going through the project development, we'll just want to make sure that we have a way to capture the work that each individual has done, just in case it comes up for our funders. They always want to make sure that we have accounting for the work that people have done to receive the stipends. All right. No, go ahead, Andrew.
Really quickly, just Paula asked, or more so commented, that she's concerned about implementation as our group, or as our project is based on cafeteria, and there's going to be major adjustments on how food is served to the students. So
sure.
Yeah.
So Paula, I think the thing that's important for us is the process of developing a project. And that process of developing a project could also be the project completion. And I know that sounds tautological, but let me give you an idea of kind of what that could look like. So, part of your project could be working with the district to improve cafeteria safety and sustainability, right? And so the project part that your green team participates in, the project development part that your green team participates in, could be developing out a strategy by which you're going to engage the broader district and the school administrators. And then the project completion part could be about the process of engaging them. What did you do? How did you do it? Did it work? Did it not work? We know that going back to campus may or may not be an option for many schools. And so we want to leave this a bit open-ended so that the work that you do to promote sustainability can fill that space rather than constraining it to reducing food waste by a certain percentage. We're not interested in that. You know what's going on in your schools and communities, you know what their needs are, and how to best support your communities.
And then Kim Hunt just asked, I'm looking at my grades and it says there's some things that are missing. How can we fix this?
So if you have submitted something and it isn't showing up, I will take a look at that individually, Kim. But I have not yet graded everything. So some of the project things that were submitted by one person are still waiting to be graded. So I will go through and click everything today in the next hour or so, and then that should show up. And if something still is indicated as missing, I will try to look at that individually. By Monday, I will send out an email to everybody with what's missing from their accounts. So if you get an email, you'll have an accounting of what items are missing, and then you can have a conversation with me about that via email, just letting me know.
It wouldn't even let me click the button. I put the information in, but it wouldn't let me click the button to submit.
Okay, let me check on that.
The submit button went yellow, so you can't click it at all.
Okay, that's probably a problem with the way that I designed the course. Like I may have made a mistake when I set up the assignment. So Kim, if you could text me or just message me privately on the chat which specific assignment that is, I can look at that and I will fix it. All right, so we're going to move on. Molly has an activity for you folks to kind of capture how your thinking about sustainability has changed.
Yeah, so we're going to do this kind of brief reflection in the chat box. And so if y'all haven't been familiar with the chat box, if you type and then hit enter, it will submit. So if you're not ready to submit, just hit space or ... or something like that. But when you hit enter, it just automatically goes into the chat. Kind of like AIM. I don't know if anybody here remembers AIM, but yeah, just like that.
Thank you, Molly.
Yeah.
Throwback.
You got it. So what we're going to do is you're going to take these two phrases and think about the virtual workshop in its entirety. So I used to think this, now I think this. And it can be anything about this workshop over the past 2 weeks. I used to think online learning was horrible and boring and terrible. Now I think it can be done, kind of, or whatever. And I encourage you to be as honest as possible. And this can be about sustainability. I used to think sustainability meant recycling. Now I think, it can include many more things. So yeah, just take a few minutes and go ahead and type into your chat box. I used to think, now I think, and then they start coming up. I'll read a few. We'll be like, together, and then we can kind of move on. But I love this activity. It's just like a little bit of like oh yeah, this is what happened.
Hey, Molly, have you learned anything this academy from our teachers?
Oh my gosh, so much. Let's see here. Good question, Andrew. Let me think. I gotta think about this. Yeah, I'll do my thinking as well.
I've learned a lot from the teachers from Mississippi. That the undrinkable water situation that is going on there is just something I never even thought about. I thought, basic infrastructure was something that like all schools kind of had. So I appreciate them for opening my perspective and really making me think about education and sustainability in schools.
Yeah, so true. Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, we feel you, Mississippi teachers. And also, we'd love to talk to you a little bit more, after the workshop, if you're interested in partnering to do more like substantial projects and look at grants that are able to help with some of the issues. Because one of the things that we can offer is ASU is a huge institution, right? And we even have a whole department not within the school, but within like the college that we're under that helps to write grants. And that's not something that a lot of teachers have access to. So if you or anyone really is interested in going after a grant and needs support, we're happy to work with you on that. All right, so we've got some good ones here. I like Kim's, I don't know where it is, but I know what it says. I used to think online learning was easy, and now I see why my students are frustrated. Yep, me too. Let's see here. I used to think I would never be able to properly collaborate with green team members, but now I think I most certainly can be done. Excellent. From Andy, I used to think institutional change was impossible. Now I think events have converged to reinvigorate activism, and there is really a will to change. So important. Absolutely. And I think that kind of key into institutional change is really important for sustainability, because we have one of the things we didn't discuss in this workshop series in particular, but we've talked about before and others, is this concept of what's called path dependence. And so some of you are probably familiar with this, but just to recap, it's this idea that we've been set on a path, and unless we re-examine this path that we've been set on, we can't deviate from the path. Things have been set in motion. And you see this in things like discriminatory housing. So redlined neighborhoods that were discriminated against in the 40s and 50s and before are still experiencing extreme levels of poverty, environmental racism. And I think that you can see those kinds of path dependence within the education system as well. So yeah, I think that that's great. And like having this time in history is really important to kind of rethink what purpose education is serving. And one of the things that we talk about sometimes is education for sustainability, because it's not just about sustainability. We're not just talking about the SDGs and talking about unfair, water issues in the United States, but how do we take action to have a more sustainable, life and more sustainable education. Let's see. I used to think sustainability was a relatively narrow field of reduce, reuse, recycle. Yeah, me too, Kevin. Now I think that sustainability issues apply to water issues and even to policy change. Absolutely. And there are some folks that work within the policy realm, within the School of Sustainability, that are really interested in working with that. One of the more, well, I don't know if it's more interesting, but there's a woman that studies the climate change, the international climate change negotiations. And specifically, like, what are the social issues that happen among the collaborators that are making these like large scale international climate change decisions, and how are these decisions made, who's included, who's excluded, whose voices are heard, and why. And so like, I think that can be a really important piece of whatever to understand, especially because Andrew and I were talking a little bit about the SDGs, and Rob and I have been working with a group in Hawaii with the SDGs. And the folks in Hawaii are trying to localize and create more, the SDGs to be more like approachable from an indigenous perspective. Because one of the things I said is like the life below water sign is a fish, but that's not a fish that these folks are familiar with, just as an example. And so one of the things that Andrew and I were talking about is that just in our language and the way that we talk and approach problems, there's kind of like this understanding of who is talking about this, right? So who is making these decisions? And another great example of that is when we talk about greenhouse gases. And that's really can be limiting because, Megan, this is from a workshop that I did with Megan and Chessa last year. It can be really limiting because who knows what a greenhouse is? People who have had access to greenhouses. And it's not an entirely appropriate way to talk about what we now consider heat trapping gases, which is a lot more, on the level of what we can understand. All right, I'll read a couple more of these out and then we can move on. Let's see. I used to think a project needed to fully encompass all areas of sustainability, but now I think it makes more sense to take whatever steps are achievable. Yes, absolutely. So true. Let's see. I used to think that online virtual learning online was boring and ineffective. Now I think when you put your best foot forward, learning can be effective in any setting. Thanks, darling. That touches me to the core, actually. Yes, Jennifer, I used to think sustainability as an environmental concern, but I increasingly identify sustainability as a social justice concern. That's a big one. And I think one of the things that I've come to understand, and like my perspective is always changing. I'm very open to learning more and understanding more, but environmental degradation and so issues of social justice are both, I feel like, very significant symptoms of greater problems. So when we do those problem trees, like what is the root cause of some of these things? Because there are a lot of similarities across the issues that we see. Nice. Mr. Mitra says, I used to think that sustainability was all about farming and not littering, but now I realize that there are more components to it that I would have never correlated with the term sustainability. Excellent. All right. I don't know where I used to think, but now I think sustainability is an innate awareness, which is hard to define and harder to incorporate. You ain't lying, Russ.
Where's my name? I didn't even see it. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, no, it's true. And like Andrew and I have been trying to work on this introduction video and trying to like, what is sustainability? And one of the things that we've noticed with experts is like, once they have an expertise in sustainability, no one wants to define it anymore because it's almost like it's a perspective shift. It's a lens in which we view the world. Like how is this? And so it can be increasingly more difficult to define once you have a greater understanding. All right.
I think that circle that we did in the beginning,
yeah,
really made us open our eyes to what sustainability was. Because I was so close and I thought it was just that the 3 R's. And then once I started seeing, oh wait, talking to kids about this, doing this, safety and security, that's also considered. So we do more sustainability than we actually think. Absolutely. And that was one of the things, that was actually one of the things I put in my paragraphs. Like it's just now I'm learning the terminology and then I can see that I'm doing it instead of thinking I'm not doing it at all.
Exactly. Yeah, no, and I think that that's a really good point because like when we open up, like when we look at sustainability as this new definition, it includes things that we're already doing. It's not just like carrying your reusable water bottle, like cool, whatever, but it's all these other things that make people feel like they have a safe space to exist in. All right. Let's see here. I'm going to read one last one from Abigail. It says, I used to think that it felt impossible to enact meaningful projects because of institutional roadblocks. Now I think that a successful project requires strong communication and collaboration between different stakeholders. And then she says, local and federal, public and private, teachers and students. Absolutely. Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it. It's been awesome working with y'all.
Thanks, everybody. It's so helpful for us to be able to see how your thinking has changed, because that tells us what we're doing well and what we are presenting clearly and the things that we need to change and improve for next time. So I appreciate this process. So what's next? The next thing is for you guys to wrap up the last assignments, if you have any in the course. I will be sending out emails or notifications through Canvas to let you know what's missing and what needs to be done. You have next week, all of next week, to finish those up before we lock the course down. If anything comes up in the meantime, you can either email me or Molly, and we can look into what needs to be done or how we can support you. But that is it. And then moving on into next year, let's start working on some projects, and know that if you're having a hard time getting started, we're available to help you with that as well. And finally, thank you so much for participating. Thank you for engaging in this online platform so thoroughly. Your answers and the reflections that you've posted in Canvas have been incredibly insightful. And I feel like with this group especially, I've seen a lot of development in thinking about how sustainability impacts your communities. And that was really eye-opening for me as well, because I learned so much about what work is being done already and what work needs to be done. I also want to thank the team here. Andrew is an unpaid intern, which is very sad for us. I would love to be able to pay Andrew, but the last time I paid intern, I got into a ton of trouble that I did not know I was going to get into. So Andrew has been working for free, which has been amazing. He's been so helpful to us.
It's been so fun. So don't discredit that.
We can, if y'all want, you can help us by paying him with compliments.
Yeah. Yeah, it will do terrible things for my ego, but
I don't know if that's true, Andrew. And Jordan, thank you as well for helping us this summer. We enlisted Jordan sort of last minute, and so he's been really generous and kind in joining us here. Thank you to Molly for all of her hard work developing this project workbook. That was sort of the cornerstone to the work that we're doing, and it's certainly something that has made our process, our internal sort of workings explicit, how we get things done with communities explicit. So that was really helpful. And then of course, Janine, we have gone through such a fast turnaround from converting from in-person to online. And Janine is the person who has made sure that we didn't forget anything, and that Zoom worked the way that it's supposed to, and that we've tied together all the bits and pieces of this course so that it makes sense. And yeah, it's just been really a blessing to have her on our team. So thank you, everybody. And again, thank you guys for participating. And with that, I will leave you with one last joke. I know that you've been waiting all day for this, perhaps longer than anything, more important than anything we've done.
Are we all on mute first?
You can all unmute.
Let's all unmute.
So here's the joke, if you're ready. This weasel walks into a vegan, locally owned coffee shop. Oh, somebody's making noise. All right, there we go.
Change that to protest.
Weasel walks into a vegan, locally owned coffee shop. And he asks the server if they have anything besides coffee, because he doesn't want coffee. And the server says, well, we have kombucha, we've got tea, we've got soda pop. And the weasel just takes a long time. So after a polite wait, as he's thinking about it, the server says, so what's it going to be? And pop goes the weasel. Oh, fun. I know you're waiting for it.
I get it. Nice.
Uh-huh. The challenge this summer has been converting all of the inappropriate for the general audience jokes that I know about bars to a sustainability context. So I would like to.
I feel
mention-
sorry for the people who work in the office for you.
Thank you, Kim.
They need a pay raise if they have to
Thank
listen
you.
to me.
That is definitely true. But
Repay.
see, the other thing that has happened is I've learned the art of stretching a joke into like a 6-minute monologue. So these are really condensed. There would have been a ton of unnecessary detail in this, so that when you heard the punchline, you were just like, "This is what am I doing with my life?" That's the main message of my jokes. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for your hard work, and keep in touch. We really look forward to seeing the work that you do in your schools and communities.
Thanks, Robert.
Bye.
Of
Thank
course.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye,
Everybody.
everyone.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Take
Hi,
care.
thanks.
Thanks.
And thank you, Rob, for making this possible.
Yeah, thanks, Rob.
Yeah, of course.
Forgot to thank
It's fun.
yourself.
Thanks, Rob.